Hi there. So I'm Carrie, obviously, from Carrie Dubber Therapy, and I'm going to be speaking today about compare and despair. And I wanted to bring this to you in stages. So we're going to look at this in three stages over the next 3 weeks. So this is going to be recorded, obviously, and it will go on to the Facebook group. But I'm also going to put it on YouTube as well. So if you're here on YouTube, hello. Compare and despair, I often find, is linked with confidence, and breaking the cycle of comparison really helps to find your inner voice and your inner confidence in yourself, which is the aim. So, what is compare and despair? It's a thinking style, it's a habit, it's a mental habit, and it's where we're measuring ourselves against others or our own expectations, which leads to feelings of inadequacy. We are placing ourselves below other people, reckoning that the value of others or the worthiness of others maybe is more than us because of what we can see on the outside. And this pattern drains our confidence and it fosters like an inner critical voice that's undermining our self-worth ultimately. So, recognizing if you're in the pattern of compare and despair is a really good step. And that's what I'm just focusing on that today. I'm going to focus on those types of comparison that you might find yourself in, and you might find yourself more in one than another, or it mixes between them. And I notice for myself, particularly in the past, I might have compared myself to others. And as I'm getting older, maybe comparing myself to how I used to be, that might not be so helpful to me. So I notice it for myself, but we can't always stop that voice coming in, but what we do about it is how we can really make a difference. So let's have a think about the what I recognize as three types of comparison. The first is the obvious one, comparing ourselves to others. So seeing somebody else's success or their lifestyle or their appearance and feeling less than. Now, in this world of social media, it's really difficult to get a realistic view of what other people are doing and how they present themselves because of course there's AI and there's all of this adjustment and adaptation to the visual what we see might not be the reality of what actually is. And even in like phones you can change things around as you're taking the picture and block things out, make things feel less wrinkly, but it's not real. So it's very difficult. So when we're looking at other people's success or their lifestyle, we have it through a an intensified sort of version of reality, and it might not be the reality. Now, the second part is comparing yourself against expectations. So judging ourselves by where we think we should be in life. So there might be milestones. And I find this with people coming up to sort of certain age milestones. I didn't think by now, I'm 30, I should have got it together, I should be with somebody. There's these milestones that we have in our minds, and we might not be fully aware of it until we get to the near the milestone, and suddenly we're taking stock and thinking, I'm not where I thought I should be. So that might be, in career, in relationships, in personal achievements, in our physical state, that we are not where we think we should be. And this self-imposed pressure really creates unnecessary stress and feelings of failure. So watching out for that. And finally, comparing your past versus your present. And that can be in two ways. But often what I find people coming up, I'm not how I used to be, that I used to be able to do this. My body used to look like this, when working with, young mothers who, look back over a couple of years and see their body has changed in shape and struggling to find the identity in who they are now. So, focusing on that, this backward focus often ignores the growth and resilience that's gained over time. So, sometimes when we're looking back, it might be with a version of ourselves, but that's ignoring actually what we learnt along the way. So, the question is, how do we sort of recognize that? And it's the inner voice, that inner dialogue, that inner chatter that is using the information that's coming in and finding a perspective on what it thinks is going on. So understanding your inner voice, that's the first bit I want us to really sort of reflect on and think about this week. Is your inner voice accurate? Often our inner critic is harsh, it's unrealistic, and it's rooted in fear. It's not us, it's a version. It's like a, a way that we've experienced things, and our voice sort of tries to identify and utilize the information coming in. But that's the brain biology part, it's not us. But it can amplify the comparisons and triggers off this feeling of despair, this feeling of sadness, this feeling of anxiety. And we're focusing on what we think are shortcomings because of what we're seeing. So the key insight, the way we talk to ourselves, is often the real problem, not the circumstances. The circumstances may be uncomfortable, but if it's if it's accurate, we can do something about it. If we are focused on what we perceive as being our default, but without any solution to that, we really do feel in despair. So the job I want you to sort of be looking at over this coming week before I post the next week is acknowledging the inner critic without judgment. It's like being curious. Aha, here it is. I notice I'm engaging in comparisons. Label it. I'm comparing myself to X. This is my inner critic speaking. Okay, so acknowledging your inner critic, recognizing when it's turning up, and label it. I notice I'm comparing myself to how I used to be. I'm comparing myself to that person on social media. I'm comparing myself to my neighbor. And this is my inner critic speaking. All right, so that's your challenge. See how you get on. And next time we're going to look into more detail about how to challenge the narrative. All right. Thanks for listening. And my name's Carrie Dubber Therapy. I'm a confidence coach and always welcome, your questions, anything you're finding out. Really value that interaction. So look forward to speaking to you soon.